The forbidden signal. Xylar adjusted its ship's controls, gazing at the blue and green planet below. Earth was unlike any other planet Xylar had seen during its countless scouting missions for the Zorvian Empire. It was lively, chaotic, and full of contradictions. Humans were primitive, using basic rockets and satellites, yet somehow their signal had caught the Empire's attention. The mission was simple: observe and report. If humans were harmless, they would remain under quiet surveillance. If they posed a threat, the Zorvian fleet would descend and deal with them before they could reach beyond their solar system. Xylar's job was not to question orders but to follow them. However, the signal Xylar intercepted was anything but simple. It happened 2 rotations ago. A faint but strange transmission had pulsed through the outer edges of Earth's orbit. The signal was nothing like the usual noise humans created with their outdated technology. It was structured, precise, and encrypted with a complexity that even Xylar's advanced systems struggled to decode. This was not ordinary human work. It felt deliberate. Xylar tapped its clawed fingers against the console as it replayed the transmission for the 5th time. The strange hum of the signal echoed through the ship, sending a faint vibration through the walls. "This isn't random," Xylar muttered to itself. "They're hiding something." Its ship's scanners suddenly beeped, drawing Xylar's attention. A faint energy signature was coming from Earth's surface, matching the frequency of the mysterious transmission. The signal originated deep underground, somewhere in a remote mountain range. Xylar zoomed in on the map displayed on its screen. The location was heavily guarded, surrounded by human technology far more advanced than expected. "Interesting," Xylar said, leaning closer to the monitor. "What are these creatures doing out here in the middle of nowhere?" The Zorvian Empire's records described humans as simple, warlike creatures, brilliant in some ways, reckless in others. They were not supposed to have the knowledge to create something like this. Yet here they were, sending encrypted transmissions and hiding strange energy sources beneath their planet's surface. Xylar's curiosity was piqued. It wasn't just about the mission anymore. It wanted to know what the humans were up to. Were they experimenting with forbidden technology? Had they found something they shouldn't have? The possibilities ran through Xylar's mind as it prepared its ship for descent. The ship cloaked itself in an invisible field, blending seamlessly with Earth's cloudy atmosphere. Xylar descended carefully, avoiding the human satellites that circled the planet like watchful eyes. Within moments, it reached the mountain range where the signal originated. The area was secluded, surrounded by dense forests and jagged cliffs. Through its scanners, Xylar detected a hidden entrance carved into the rocky terrain. The entrance was heavily guarded by humans wearing dark uniforms and carrying advanced weapons. Above them, sleek drones hovered, scanning the area for any intruders. Xylar frowned, or at least the Zorvian equivalent of a frown. These humans were more prepared than expected. This was no ordinary research station. It was a fortress. The energy signature grew stronger as Xylar focused its scanners on the underground base. Whatever was hidden down there, it was powerful, more powerful than anything humans should be capable of creating. Xylar's claws tapped nervously against the console. If the Zorvian Empire knew about this, they wouldn't hesitate to act. But something about the situation felt off. Why would humans go to such lengths to hide this from their own kind? What could they be afraid of? Xylar couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story. The alien scout activated its holographic disguise, transforming its appearance into that of a tall human male. The hologram was flawless, mimicking every detail from the texture of skin to the subtle movements of breathing. Xylar's true form, with its scaled skin and glowing eyes, vanished beneath the illusion. With its disguise complete, Xylar left the ship and approached the hidden base on foot. It stayed in the shadows, observing the humans as they worked. Their expressions were tense, their movements precise. These were not ordinary soldiers. They were professionals, guarding something of great value. Xylar crept closer, careful not to trigger any alarms. As it neared the entrance, it overheard two human guards speaking in hushed tones. "Did you hear about the last test?" one guard asked. "Yeah," the other replied. "They said it worked, but the energy levels nearly blew the whole system. If we're not careful, this thing could destroy us all." Zyler's eyes widened. Destroy us all? What were these humans experimenting with? And why did it sound so dangerous? The scout activated a small recording device embedded in its wrist. Every word the human spoke was precious data for the Zorgian Empire. But as Zyler continued to listen, it began to question whether sharing this information was the right thing to do. These humans weren't just building weapons. They were dealing with forces they barely understood. As Zyler prepared to infiltrate the base, a new thought crossed its mind. What if the humans weren't hiding this technology from their enemies, but from something far greater? What if they were hiding it from the Zorvians? The scout's chest tightened with a strange mix of fear and excitement. For the first time in its long career, Zyler wasn't sure if it wanted to finish its mission. But one thing was certain: whatever the humans were hiding, it was going to change everything. The silent shadows. Zyler slipped past the guards, moving like a shadow beneath the canopy of night. The holographic disguise made it nearly invisible, but the alien scout knew better than to rely solely on its technology. Humans were unpredictable, resourceful, and more dangerous than their primitive nature suggested. Every step was calculated, every movement precise. Ahead, the hidden entrance loomed, a jagged crack in the mountain, reinforced with steel and glowing faintly with human lights. Zyler crouched behind a cluster of boulders, watching the guards rotate their shifts with military precision. Drones buzzed overhead, their sensors scanning for intruders. But Zyler wasn't just any intruder. It was Zorgian, trained to outsmart the most advanced security systems in the galaxy. And yet it couldn't help but feel a strange sense of unease. Something about this base felt alive. The energy signature it had detected earlier seemed to pulse in rhythm with the planet itself, like a heartbeat. The scout activated a small device on its wrist. A silent pulse of energy rippled outward, briefly scrambling the nearest drone's sensors. In the few seconds of chaos, Zyler darted forward, slipping through the entrance just as the heavy steel doors began to close. It pressed itself against the cold wall, waiting as the sound of boots echoed nearby. Inside, the atmosphere was different. The air was thick, charged with an almost electric tension. Humans moved briskly through the corridors, their faces a mix of determination and fear. Zyler followed from the shadows, its sharp eyes noting every detail. The humans were carrying strange devices, compact, sleek, and brimming with energy signatures far beyond their known capabilities. At the heart of the base, Zyler found what it was looking for. A massive laboratory stretched out before it, filled with glowing machinery and humming consoles. In the center of the room was a strange artifact, suspended in midair. It was a sphere, no larger than a human head, but it radiated power. Pulsing light danced across its surface, shifting between colors that Zyler couldn't quite describe. The alien scout froze. This artifact was not of human origin. It recognized the material. It was Zorvian. No, not just Zorvian. It was ancient, far older than the Empire itself. Zyler's mind raced. How had the humans found this? And more importantly, how had they activated it? Suddenly, a group of humans entered the lab, their voices urgent. Zyler pressed itself into the shadows, its hologram shimmering faintly as it blended into the background. "We're running out of time," one of the scientists said. She was tall, with sharp eyes and a voice that carried authority. "The artifact is destabilizing. If we don't find a way to control it, the energy output could destroy the entire base." Another scientist, a younger man with trembling hands, replied, "But what about the signal? If the Zorvians pick it up?" "That's exactly why we need to act now," the woman interrupted. "We can't let them know we have this. Do you understand what they'd do if they found out? Earth wouldn't stand a chance." Zyler's claws tightened against the wall. So the humans did know about the Zorgian Empire. They weren't just experimenting with forbidden technology. They were preparing for war. The scout's mind reeled. This changed everything. Humanity wasn't supposed to be a threat. They were supposed to be simple, struggling to survive on their little planet. And yet, here they were, reverse engineering an ancient Zorvian artifact and hiding it from the Empire. As Sylar listened, the artifact suddenly pulsed brighter, sending a wave of energy through the lab. The humans staggered, shielding their eyes. Sylar's holographic disguise flickered, and for a brief moment, its true form was visible. One of the scientists spotted the anomaly. "What was that?" he whispered, his eyes scanning the room. Sylar held its breath, its heart pounding in its chest. The artifact pulsed again, this time stronger. The lights in the lab flickered, and a low hum filled the air. The humans were too focused on the artifact to notice the alien scout slipping out of the lab. Moving quickly and silently, Sylar navigated deeper into the base. It needed answers. The artifact was just the beginning. What else were the humans hiding? And why did it feel like they were preparing for something far bigger than a simple defense? In a small control room, Sylar found its answer. A holographic display showed Earth's solar system, marked with red dots indicating possible alien threats. But the most shocking part was the center of the display, a large Zorvian warship labeled potential hostile. Sylar's chest tightened. The humans weren't just aware of the Empire. They were expecting an attack. The scout downloaded the files, its mind racing. The Zorgian Empire needed to know about this, but a strange thought lingered in the back of Sylar's mind. These humans weren't just a threat. They were survivors, fighting against impossible odds. For the first time, Sylar felt a flicker of something it had never experienced before: admiration. As the alien scout slipped out of the control room, alarms suddenly blared. Sylar cursed under its breath. It had been detected. Drones swarmed through the corridors, their red lights casting eerie shadows against the walls. The humans were on high alert. Sylar sprinted through the base, dodging guards and avoiding security systems. The artifact's pulsing energy seemed to grow stronger, shaking the very foundation of the base. In the chaos, Sylar couldn't help but wonder, what if the humans were right? What if the Zorvian Empire was the real danger, not Earth? As it escaped into the night, Sylar glanced back at the hidden base, its mind racing with conflicting thoughts. The humans were hiding something, yes, but perhaps they were hiding it for a reason: the hidden lab. Sylar crouched behind a jagged boulder on a distant ridge, its glowing eyes fixed on the base below. The alarms had finally stopped, but the humans were on high alert. Guards patrolled the perimeter with renewed vigilance, and the drones swarmed the skies in tight, erratic patterns. Yet despite the increased security, Sylar felt a strange pull urging it to return. The artifact. It wasn't just a discovery, it was a warning. The scout activated its cloaking device, ensuring its holographic disguise remained intact. Sylar's species had always considered humans an unpredictable variable, but what it had seen inside the lab changed everything. These beings were not just clever. They were desperate, and desperation often bred ingenuity. As Sylar approached the hidden entrance, it noticed something odd. The artifact's energy signature was fluctuating again, emitting faint waves of heat that rippled through the cold mountain air. The ground beneath the scout's feet seemed to hum with the artifact's rhythm. Whatever the humans were trying to do, the artifact was resisting. With careful precision, Sylar slipped back into the base. The corridors were darker this time, illuminated only by the faint glow of emergency lights. The energy surges from the artifact were wreaking havoc on the facility's systems. Consoles flickered, and the distant hum of generators wavered unpredictably. Sylar paused near the entrance to the laboratory, its sharp ears picking up fragments of a heated argument. "This isn't working," shouted a male voice, trembling with frustration. "We're losing control. The artifact is responding to something. Someone. "It's the intruder," said the woman with the authoritative voice Tyler had heard earlier. "Whatever it is, the artifact has detected it. That's why it's destabilizing. We need to find this thing now." Xylar's chest tightened. The humans were closer to discovering its presence than it had anticipated. It needed to act quickly. Sliding into a narrow ventilation shaft, Xylar crawled toward the laboratory. From its vantage point, it could see the artifact more clearly now. Suspended in a containment field, the sphere pulsed with an intensity that seemed alive. Its surface rippled like liquid metal, and every pulse sent shockwaves through the air, rattling the surrounding machinery. The humans were scrambling to stabilize the artifact, their faces etched with a mixture of fear and determination. Xylar's scanners confirmed its earlier suspicion. The artifact wasn't just a power source. It was an ancient Zorvian device, likely a relic from a long-lost era of the Empire's history. Yet there was something different about it. Something even Xylar couldn't fully understand. "What are you?" Xylar whispered to itself, its voice barely audible over the hum of the containment field. As the scout observed, it noticed a faint glow emanating from the artifact's core. The glow pulsed faster when the humans approached it, almost as if it were responding to their presence. But when one of the scientists accidentally dropped a tool near the artifact, the glow intensified sharply. A sudden pulse of energy burst outward, throwing the humans back and short-circuiting the lab's equipment. Xylar felt the wave too, its sensors briefly overloaded by the sheer power of the pulse. It clutched the edge of the ventilation shaft, struggling to maintain its balance. The humans lay sprawled on the floor, dazed but unharmed. "Shut it down," one of the scientists shouted, scrambling to his feet. "We can't," the lead scientist replied, her voice tinged with panic. "The containment field is failing. If we disrupt it now, the artifact cold." Before she could finish, the artifact pulsed again, this time brighter and more violently. The sphere's surface began to shift, forming strange, intricate patterns that seemed to defy logic. Xylar's advanced neural implants struggled to process the sight. The patterns weren't just random. They were a language, a message. Xylar activated its recording device, capturing every detail of the artifact's transformation. The language was ancient, far older than the Zorvian Empire itself. It spoke of warnings, of dangers hidden in the vastness of space. Xylar's chest tightened as it realized the implications. The artifact wasn't just a relic, it was a beacon. Suddenly, a loud voice echoed through the lab's intercom system. "Intruder detected in Sector 7. Lockdown initiated." Xylar cursed under its breath. The humans had found its earlier traces. The scout's presence was no longer a secret. It had to move fast. Using the chaos as a distraction, Xylar slipped into the lab. The humans were too focused on stabilizing the artifact to notice the faint shimmer of its cloaking device. As the scout approached the artifact, it felt a strange sensation. The artifact was calling to it, its energy resonating with something deep within Xylar's core. Ignoring the danger, Xylar reached out and touched the artifact's containment field. To its surprise, the field didn't resist. Instead, it parted like water, allowing Xylar to place its clawed hand directly on the artifact's surface. In that moment, everything changed. A flood of images and sounds overwhelmed Xylar's mind. Visions of ancient civilizations, stars being born and dying, and a vast, ominous force consuming entire galaxies. Xylar saw its own species, the Zorvians, standing at the edge of oblivion, their arrogance blinding them to the threat that loomed ever closer. And then it saw the humans, fragile, flawed, and yet brimming with potential. They were the key, the last hope against the coming storm. The artifact's glow dimmed as Xylar released its grip, its mind racing with new knowledge. The humans weren't just hiding this artifact from the Zorvians. They were protecting it from something far greater, something that even the Zorvian Empire feared. Before Xylar could process the revelation, the lab's doors burst open. Armed guards stormed in, their weapons trained on the alien scout. The humans had found their intruder. Xylar's instincts kicked in. It activated its cloaking device and darted toward the nearest exit, narrowly avoiding a hail of gunfire. As it sprinted through the base's corridors, the artifact's final message echoed in its mind. They are coming, and only together can you survive. The artifact's truth. Xylar darted through the darkened corridors of the human base, its cloaking device flickering erratically. The artifact's energy had disrupted its systems, leaving it partially visible. The alien scout's mind raced as alarms blared, and human soldiers closed in. But the real chaos wasn't external. It was inside Xylar's head. The visions the artifact had shown it were impossible to ignore. Entire galaxies consumed, ancient civilizations erased, and a looming dark presence unlike anything the Zorvian Empire had encountered. The artifact's warning was clear. Something vast and terrible was coming, and humanity was somehow crucial to stopping it. Xylar rounded a corner, slipping into a dimly lit maintenance room. Its breathing was heavy, its mind still reeling. It activated its wrist device to assess the data it had gathered. The readings were beyond anything it had encountered before. Energy signatures that defied known physics, ancient codes that predated the Zorgian Empire, and fragments of a star map pointing to distant regions of the galaxy. Why would humans have this? Xylar whispered to itself. The answer lay back in the lab. Xylar knew it had to return, not just to retrieve more data but to understand how humans had come into possession of such a powerful artifact. It wasn't a coincidence. This was deliberate, calculated, and deeply significant. After recalibrating its cloaking device, Xylar slipped out of the maintenance room and made its way toward a secondary access point to the laboratory. The base's defenses were in full force now. Guards patrolled every corridor, and drones buzzed overhead, their red lights scanning for the intruder. Xylar moved with precision, using its advanced agility and holographic camouflage to stay out of sight. Finally, it reached an observation platform overlooking the lab. From this vantage point, Xylar could see the humans working frantically to stabilize the artifact. The containment field flickered, and the sphere pulsed with an erratic rhythm. The lead scientist, the sharp-eyed woman, barked orders at her team. "Bring the auxiliary generators online," she shouted. "We need to stabilize the energy output before it breaches containment." A younger scientist hesitated, his hands trembling as he adjusted the controls. "What if we can't contain it? The readings are off the charts. If this thing goes, then we're all dead," she interrupted, her tone grim but resolute. "And so is the rest of the planet." Xylar's focus shifted to the artifact. It pulsed brighter with each passing moment, its surface shifting like liquid metal. The patterns it displayed earlier were now gone, replaced by a chaotic swirl of colors. Whatever the humans were doing, they were pushing the artifact beyond its limits. The scout activated a small recording device, aiming it at the artifact. It needed to capture every detail for analysis. As the device began to hum, Xylar's sensors picked up something strange. The artifact's energy wasn't just destabilizing. It was interacting with the surrounding environment. The air vibrated with an unseen force, and faint whispers seemed to echo in the distance. "Coordinates. Awaken. Unite." The words were barely audible, but they sent a chill through Xylar's core. Suddenly, the artifact flared with a blinding light, and the containment field collapsed entirely. The humans scrambled back, shielding their eyes. Xylar instinctively activated its protective visor, allowing it to witness what came next. The sphere floated upward, its surface slitting open like petals of a flower. Inside, a smaller glowing core was revealed, emitting a soft, melodic hum. Xylar's sensors struggled to process the core's energy. It was unlike anything it had encountered before. The core wasn't just a power source, it was alive. The humans stared in awe, their earlier panic replaced by stunned silence. The lead scientist took a cautious step forward, her voice barely a whisper. It's reacting to us. Xylar's mind raced. The artifact wasn't just a warning beacon. It was a key, a piece of a larger puzzle. The ancient visions it had shown Xylar weren't just memories. They were instructions. One of the younger scientists reached out to touch the core, but the lead scientist stopped him. "No," she said firmly. "We don't know what it will do." But the artifact seemed to have its own plans. The core began to pulse in a steady rhythm, and beams of light shot out in every direction, projecting a holographic map into the air. Xylar recognized it immediately. It was the same star map it had seen in the earlier visions. The humans gasped as the map shifted, zooming in on a specific region of space. A small planet, marked by a glowing symbol, blinked on the map. Xylar's neural implants translated the symbol instantly. Sanctuary. The humans exchanged confused looks. "What does it mean?" one of them asked. "It means," the lead scientist said slowly, "we're not alone. And whatever this is, it's guiding us." Xylar's chest tightened. The artifact wasn't just showing them the map, it was choosing them. Despite their flaws, their primitive technology, and their reckless nature, the artifact had deemed humanity worthy of carrying its message. But why? What made these fragile beings so special? Before Xylar could process its thoughts, the lab's alarms blared again. The humans sprang into action. But this time, the danger wasn't coming from the artifact. "Unidentified craft entering Earth's atmosphere," a voice shouted over the intercom. "It's massive and heading straight for us." Xylar's blood ran cold. The Zorvian Empire had sent a warship. They must have detected the artifact's energy signature. Humanity's secret was out. The scout turned to leave, its mind racing. It had a choice to make: warn the humans and risk betraying its mission, or escape and report back to the Empire. As it hesitated, the artifact pulsed again, sending a final message directly into Xylar's mind. "Protect them. They are the last hope." Xylar clenched its claws, its resolve hardening. The Zorvian warship wasn't coming for negotiations. It was coming to destroy. And for the first time in its life, Xylar felt something it had never expected: loyalty to something other than the Empire. As the base trembled under the roar of approaching engines, Xylar whispered to itself, "I'm going to regret this." The chase. The base shook violently as the first tremors of the approaching Zorvian warship rippled through the mountain. Xylar sprinted down the dimly lit corridors, its claws clicking against the metallic floor. The artifact's final message echoed in its mind: "Protect them. They are the last hope." It was a directive that defied everything Xylar had been trained for. Protecting humanity wasn't part of the mission. The Zorvian Empire demanded loyalty, and disobedience meant exile, or worse. Yet the visions from the artifact, the map of sanctuary, and the humans' desperate efforts had ignited something within Xylar. The scout couldn't shake the feeling that the Empire was making a grave mistake. Warning: hostile ship detected. A mechanical voice blared over the base's intercom. "Prepare for impact." The scout slipped into the shadows of an auxiliary corridor, narrowly avoiding a patrol of human guards. They were moving with urgency now, their earlier fear replaced by grim determination. Xylar admired their resolve. Despite knowing they were outmatched, the humans were gearing up to fight. As Xylar approached the docking bay, it activated a holographic interface on its wrist. The data it had gathered from the artifact needed to be transmitted to the Zorvian network. If the Empire knew about Sanctuary, about the coming storm, they might reconsider their approach to humanity. But deep down, Xylar knew that wasn't likely. The Empire would see humanity as a threat and eliminate them without hesitation. A sudden explosion rocked the base, throwing Xylar against the wall. The scout steadied itself, its sensors picking up frantic chatter over the human comms. "The warship is targeting the surface. We've got breaches on deck 3 and 4, a panicked voice shouted. Xylar peered through a cracked viewport. Outside, the massive Zorvian warship hovered like a silent predator. Its sleek, obsidian hull reflected the burning wreckage below. Streams of energy beams fired from its cannons, systematically dismantling the base's defenses. The humans were fighting back, launching missiles and scrambling drones, but their technology was woefully inferior. For every drone that managed to strike the warship's shields, 10 more were vaporized in an instant. Sylar knew it was only a matter of time before the Zorvians breached the base entirely. Suddenly, a new sound cut through the chaos, a faint melodic hum. Sylar's sensors flared as the artifact's energy signature spiked again. From deep within the base, the sphere emitted a powerful pulse, sending shockwaves through the air. The Zorvian warship hesitated, its weapon systems briefly disrupted. Sylar's eyes widened. The artifact was responding to the threat, but it wasn't stable. If the humans pushed it too far, the resulting energy surge could destroy the entire base, and possibly the surrounding area. The scout activated its cloaking device and moved toward the artifact's chamber. It had to ensure the humans didn't accidentally doom themselves in their attempt to fight back. As Sylar approached the lab, it encountered a squad of heavily armed human soldiers. "There it is," one of them shouted, pointing at the faint shimmer of Sylar's cloaking field. Sylar barely had time to react. The humans opened fire, their advanced projectile weapons tearing through the air. The scout leaped to the side, its agility saving it from certain death. It darted into an adjoining corridor, narrowly avoiding another barrage of gunfire. The chase was on. Sylar sprinted through the maze-like corridors, its mind racing. The humans had mistaken it for an enemy, and now it was being hunted by the very species it was trying to protect. Behind it, the soldiers moved with military precision, their footsteps echoing ominously. "Seal off Section B." One of the soldiers barked into a communicator. "We can't let it reach the artifact." Sylar skidded to a halt as a heavy blast door began to descend ahead of it. Thinking fast, the scout activated a small device on its belt, emitting an electromagnetic pulse that froze the door's mechanism. Sparks flew as Sylar slid beneath the half-closed barrier, the door slamming shut behind it. The artifact's chamber was just ahead. Sylar entered the lab to find chaos. The artifact floated in the center of the room, its core glowing brighter than ever. The lead scientist and her team were frantically working at the consoles, trying to stabilize the energy output. The containment field flickered erratically, and the sphere's hum had grown deafening. "You don't understand what you're dealing with," Sylar shouted, dropping its cloaking field. The sudden appearance of the alien caused the humans to freeze, their eyes wide with shock. "You," the lead scientist said, her voice laced with both fear and curiosity. "You're the intruder." "There's no time to explain," Sylar replied, its tone urgent. "The artifact is unstable. If you don't shut it down, it will destroy all of us." The scientist hesitated, her gaze flickering between the alien and the artifact. "And why should we trust you?" she demanded. "You're one of them." "I'm not your enemy," Sylar said, taking a cautious step forward. "I've seen what's coming. This artifact is the only thing that can stop it, but if you lose control now, the Zorvians will destroy everything before you even have a chance." Before she could respond, another explosion rocked the base. The Zorvian warship had breached the mountain, its weapons now targeting the artifact's chamber. Dust and debris rained from the ceiling as the walls trembled. The scientist's face hardened. "Fine, but if you betray us, I'll kill you myself." Sylar nodded, stepping toward the artifact. Its sensors were overwhelmed by the raw energy emanating from the sphere. The scout placed its hand on the artifact's surface, feeling the pulsating warmth beneath its claws. The artifact responded immediately, its hum stabilizing, as if recognizing Sylar's touch. "It's communicating with you," the scientist said, her voice a mixture of awe and disbelief. "How is that possible?" Sylar didn't answer. Its focus was entirely on the artifact. The visions returned, clearer this time. A vast, dark force sweeping across the galaxy, consuming everything in its path. The Zorvian Empire, arrogant, and unprepared, falling to the encroaching darkness. And amidst the chaos, humanity stood as a flickering light, fragile yet vital. The artifact pulsed one final time, sending a shockwave through the lab. Xylar staggered back, its mind reeling from the flood of information. "We have to get this off the planet," Xylar said, turning to the scientist. "If the Zorvians take it, there's no hope for any of us." The scientist stared at Xylar, then nodded. "Then let's make sure they don't." As the base crumbled around them, Xylar and the humans prepared for the fight of their lives. The chase wasn't over. It was only beginning. The Zorvian threat. The base was a war zone. The Zorvian warship loomed above, its weapons raining destruction with terrifying precision. Xylar stood in the artifact chamber alongside the human scientists and soldiers, their eyes locked in a silent truce. The artifact hovered in the center, glowing steadily, as if aware of the chaos around it. "We don't have much time," Xylar said, its voice sharp with urgency. "The Zorvian warship isn't here to negotiate. They'll destroy this entire base to ensure the artifact doesn't fall into your hands." The lead scientist, still clutching a datapad, looked at Xylar with a mix of suspicion and resolve. "Then why are you helping us? Aren't they your people?" "They are," Xylar admitted, its glowing eyes narrowing. "But the Empire doesn't understand the danger coming for all of us. This artifact holds the key to stopping it. If they destroy it, or you, none of us survive." The room fell silent. Even the soldiers, tense and gripping their weapons, seemed to grasp the weight of Xylar's words. Finally, the lead scientist nodded. "All right, what's the plan?" Xylar's neural implants projected a hologram into the air, showing a layout of the base. "The artifact is too powerful to move through traditional means. It must be shielded within a containment vessel, but the Zorvian ship's sensors will detect it if we attempt to escape. We need to buy time." "Buy time?" one of the soldiers said incredulously. "You mean die trying? If you don't, there won't be a planet left to fight for." Xylar shot back, its tone cold but resolute. "The Empire will vaporize this entire area once they secure the artifact." The soldier fell silent, grim determination replacing his earlier fear. The lead scientist studied the hologram, her mind racing. "We have a prototype shield generator in storage. It's not designed for something this powerful, but it might hold long enough to get the artifact to safety." "Where's the generator?" Xylar asked. She pointed to a storage facility on the far side of the base, beyond several heavily damaged corridors. "There, but with the Zorvians closing in." "I'll retrieve it," Xylar interrupted. "I can move faster and avoid detection. You focus on keeping this artifact stable." Before anyone could argue, Xylar activated its cloaking device and sprinted out of the chamber. The corridors were filled with smoke and debris, the distant sound of explosions echoing through the base. Human soldiers fought valiantly against the Zorvian drones, their outdated weapons no match for the advanced alien machines. Xylar moved with precision, slipping past firefights and weaving through the shadows. Its scanners detected several Zorvian strike teams advancing through the base. They were methodical, eliminating resistance with ruthless efficiency. Xylar's claws clenched. These weren't scouts or soldiers. They were executioners. As Xylar approached the storage facility, it encountered a group of Zorvian soldiers standing over a group of injured humans. The humans were disarmed, their hands raised in surrender. The Zorvians didn't hesitate, raising their weapons to fire. Something snapped inside Xylar. Without thinking, it lunged forward, activating its plasma blade. The Zorvian soldiers barely had time to react before Xylar struck, its movements a blur. In seconds, the executioners lay motionless on the ground. The humans stared at Xylar in shock, their fear mingled with gratitude. One of them, a young soldier clutching a bleeding arm, managed to speak. "Why? Why did you save us?" Xylar didn't answer. It simply deactivated its blade and pointed down the corridor. "Get to the artifact chamber. Help your people. Now." The humans hesitated for a moment, then nodded and ran. Xylar watched them go before turning back to the storage facility. It found the prototype shield generator nestled among other equipment, its bulky frame glowing faintly with unused power. "This better work," Xylar muttered, hoisting the generator onto its back. The return trip was far more perilous. The Zorvian strike teams were converging on the artifact chamber, their relentless advance leaving a trail of destruction. Xylar moved as quickly as it could, the heavy generator slowing its pace. It could hear the distant roar of the Zorvian warship, its engines powering up for another devastating strike. When Xylar finally reached the artifact chamber, the situation was dire. The remaining human soldiers were holding the line against a swarm of Zorgian drones, their ranks thinning with each passing second. The lead scientist was frantically inputting commands into a console, trying to stabilize the artifact as it pulsed dangerously. "Generator," Xylar said, dropping the device at her feet. "Can you activate it?" She nodded, her hands trembling as she worked. "It'll take a few minutes to calibrate. Keep them off us." Xylar turned to the soldiers. "Fall back to this position. Protect the artifact at all costs." The humans hesitated, unsure whether to trust the alien, but the lead scientist's sharp voice cut through the chaos. "Do what it says. Move." Xylar and the remaining soldiers formed a defensive perimeter around the chamber. The Zorvian drones surged forward, their weapons tearing through the air. Xylar fought with brutal efficiency, its plasma blade cutting through the machines while the soldiers fired from behind makeshift barricades. The battle was desperate, chaotic. Explosions rocked the chamber, and the artifact's pulsing light grew erratic, casting eerie shadows across the walls. Xylar knew they couldn't hold out much longer. "Generator online," the lead scientist shouted. A shimmering field of energy enveloped the artifact, stabilizing its emissions. The artifact's pulsing slowed, its glow becoming steady once more. But before relief could settle in, a deafening sound filled the chamber. The Zorvian warship had descended to the surface, its weapons locked on the artifact. "We have to move now," Xylar yelled. "The shield won't hold against that firepower." The humans scrambled to secure the artifact, loading it onto a hover sled. As they pushed it toward an escape route, Xylar glanced back at the approaching Zorvians. It would have to buy them more time. Turning to the lead scientist, Xylar said, "Get the artifact to safety. No matter what happens, you must protect it." "What about you?" she asked, her voice breaking. Xylar activated its plasma blade, stepping toward the advancing Zorgians. "I'll hold them off. Just go." As the humans retreated, Xylar faced the oncoming wave of enemies, its resolve unshakable. For the first time in its life, it wasn't fighting for the Empire. It was fighting for something greater. The secret report. The chamber echoed with the clash of metal and the roar of plasma as Xylar fought to hold the line. The Zorvian soldiers pressed forward with unrelenting force, their sleek weapons gleaming with lethal precision. But Xylar didn't falter. Each strike of its plasma blade was calculated, each movement a testament to its advanced training. It had one mission now: buy the humans enough time to escape with the artifact. The hover sled carrying the glowing sphere disappeared into a hidden tunnel, guided by the lead scientist and the remaining soldiers. Xylar caught one last glimpse of them before the chamber's heavy blast doors sealed shut, locking the artifact and Earth's fragile hope out of reach. "Good luck," Xylar murmured, its glowing eyes narrowing as it turned back to the enemy. The Zorvian strike commander stepped forward, towering over the other soldiers. Its armor shimmered with the insignia of the Empire, and its voice carried a cold, metallic authority. "Scout Xylar," it said, its tone dripping with disdain. "You've betrayed your kind." Xylar straightened, gripping its plasma blade tightly. The Empire doesn't understand what it's walking into. The artifact isn't just a weapon, it's a warning. If we destroy it, we doom ourselves. The commander tilted its head, a cruel smirk forming on its face. The Empire doesn't take warnings from primitives. Humanity is a threat that must be eradicated. You're wrong, Siler said, its voice steady. They're the key to stopping what's coming. The commander raised a clawed hand, signaling its troops to attack. Then you'll die with them. The battle erupted once more, fierce and unrelenting. Xylar fought like a cornered beast, its plasma blade a blur of light and heat. The Zorvian soldiers were skilled, but Siler's determination gave it an edge. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a stand for something far greater. Despite Xylar's efforts, the Zorvian forces began to overwhelm it. The scout's movements slowed, its energy reserves dwindling. A blast from a Zorvian rifle struck its shoulder, sending it crashing to the ground. Pain shot through its body, but Siler refused to stay down. As the commander approached, ready to deliver the final blow, a faint hum filled the air. Xylar's eyes widened as the sound grew louder. The artifact. It was still connected to the base. Even from a distance, its energy reached out, pulsing with a steady, rhythmic beat. The artifact's power surged through the chamber, disrupting the Zorvian soldier systems. Their weapons flickered, and their movements became erratic. Xylar seized the moment, lunging at the commander with the last of its strength. The plasma blade struck true, piercing the commander's armor. The Zorvian leader staggered back, its expression one of shock and rage before it collapsed to the ground. The remaining soldiers hesitated, disoriented by the artifact's interference. Xylar activated a final override on its wrist device, triggering an electromagnetic pulse that short-circuited the chamber systems. The Zorvian forces were blinded, their equipment rendered useless. But Siler knew it couldn't hold them off forever. Wounded and exhausted, it stumbled toward a nearby terminal. It had one final task to complete. The scout initiated a secure transmission to the Zorvian Empire. Its claws trembled as it typed, each word carrying the weight of its decision. Report. Earth. Artifact detected. Threat assessment. Inconclusive. Recommendation. Non-interference. Humanity poses no immediate danger to the Empire. Further investigation unwarranted. Siler paused, its gaze drifting to the sealed tunnel where the artifact had disappeared. It added one final line. Warning. External existential threat detected. Artifact's guidance essential. Humanity may hold the key to survival. The transmission sent, Siler collapsed against the terminal. Its vision blurred as its systems began to fail. The sound of approaching Zorvian reinforcements grew louder, but Siler felt a strange sense of peace. It had done its part. Suddenly, a faint voice crackled in its ear. Human comms. Xylar, do you copy? We've secured the artifact. We're heading to the extraction point. Xylar managed a weak smile. Keep it safe, it whispered. And remember, you're not alone. The humans' comms went silent, but Siler knew they'd heard. With its strength fading, the scout closed its eyes, its final thoughts filled with hope for the fragile alliance it had forged. Far from Earth, aboard the Zorvian warship, the intercepted report arrived in the hands of a high-ranking official. The alien's expression darkened as it read Silar's message. For the first time, doubt crept into the Empire's unwavering confidence. On Earth, the humans reached a hidden extraction site, the artifact safely secured within its containment field. The lead scientist glanced at the glowing sphere, her mind racing with the possibilities it held. As the artifact pulsed softly, the faint outline of the star map reappeared, marking sanctuary. Humanity's journey was just beginning, and in the vast reaches of space, a shadow stirred, a dark force that hungered for the light of all civilizations. The storm was coming, but for the first time, there was a chance to fight back.